Hello, beloved, and welcome back to the Sex and Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Erin Kiner, and thank you so much for joining me for season 3 as we take a wild ride together through the realms of sex and healing. It is so awesome to be back. Every time I take a break, it's just so well timed. It's exactly when I need a break. We go 20 episodes, which is a lot of work and a lot of talking. And I take that month off, and oh my God, by the time it's time to record again, I have so much to share. I'm so renewed in my passion to be here. I'm so excited about what's coming. I'm just so happy to be back. So today, we're just going to do a little life update of what's been happening over the last month and also share with you what season 3 is going to hold. And I'm very, very excited about that. But today, my roommate Charlie and I were sitting having a chai for breakfast, and we found our dream villa, and we had an opportunity to go and inspect it within the hour of finding it online. And we'd been keeping our eye out and kind of visualizing, because the villa that we're renting at the moment we had for 4 months. We knew it was going to be short term because our friend that owns this villa was traveling. I paid for those 4 months up front, and then we just had this rough general idea of what we'd want in the future, and yet this thing popped up today that was so ideal. So we went out to inspect it, and it's a 10-minute drive from where we are now, and it is just divine. It is absolutely divine. I cannot wait to move in. So I know the universe takes immaculate care of these things, and every housing situation that I've had in Bali has just been the most perfect, flawless synchronicities, and I know that this is the case. I know that transitioning from one villa to the next is going to be super, super easy, but my God, it will be like living in paradise. It's more of a traditional villa. It's got 3 separate villas on the land, so 3 different bedrooms. It has this acoustic dome for sound healing by the pool, and it backs onto this beautiful river. So it is like being immersed in nature. We will still have the rooster sounds. We're not getting rid of that. We will still have the very noisy kitten, wherever the kitten is. You may hear the kitten in this episode today. It has become the most adorable kitten, but my God, it is loud. It loves to talk. So there will be no more construction. There'll be no more big, loud construction trucks. You know, I've been in this area in Bali for 3 years, and 3 years ago, it was amazing. It was all rice fields and cows in a very quiet expat area. But it's definitely become the most desirable part of Bali since Corona happened. And it's developing so quickly. Huge restaurants, 2-story restaurants, 4-story hotels are going in, and my nervous system just does not belong in a place like this. So to know that we're only 10 minutes away from all of the convenience that this area offers, all of our friends that are here, but it will be like living in the jungle. It is just the perfect balance. So I'm very, very, very excited for when we can move into that place. And I'm not exactly sure when, but I can't wait to record from there, to host events there, to just wake up to listen to that river running all night. At the moment, with the construction that happens next door, which starts earlier than 7 a.m. sometimes, plus we've got a field where a lot of the locals fly their kites, and flying kites is a very popular pastime with the young men on the island, the boys and the young men. So they all ride their scooters down there, and I've heard the scooters at 6:45 in the morning, and they're revving their engines, and like, it's just a lot. So I've been playing brown noise in the background while I sleep, which is like white noise, and many people would be aware of white noise as like a bit of a sound muffling agent in the background. But brown noise actually is the same as white noise with the high pitch removed. So it's very, very soothing to my nervous system. And essentially it's going to sound like the river. The sound of the ocean or the sound of rain or the sound of the river provides that same kind of experience. So I'm just so grateful for the universe and the way these things unfold and how divinely I'm taken care of here. Like, I know I'm meant to be living here when things like that happen and unfold so easily. So I'm excited for that, and very soon we'll be recording podcasts from my new location. So also this week, I feel like I have had the biggest week ever in terms of coming to understand and own who I really am. And I know that you guys are probably thinking, what the hell, Erin? You appear like you know yourself and you appear like you own yourself. And I would have said the same. I never would have questioned it, how much I'm aware of who I am and how confident I am to express who I am in the world. But these series of events have just taken me to the next level. So one of those things was a human design business reading, and I had not connected with human design at all. I fucking love astrology. I have had amazing life transforming awareness come into me from astrology. Like, what happens in the stars dictates my life like nothing else. It's unbelievable how sensitive I am to that energy and how influenced I am. And every time I'd read anything about human design, I was like, that doesn't sound like me. Like, I'm a generator. Everything I'd read about generators, I'm like, I just can't relate to that. That does not speak to me. And like when you run a report and you look at the individual gates or like individual aspects of the chart as a standalone thing, it doesn't really do much. And I had one reading just before Corona times, and it was someone who, in hindsight, was probably pretty inexperienced. And again, was just kind of reading from that generated report kind of position, which is fine. I completely understand. Certainly at the beginning of our careers, we all start in that place. But I know who I am, and I need someone that can really see a lot more and go a lot deeper into it. So I found this beautiful girl on Instagram named Emmy Ray, and as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh my God, this girl is speaking directly to me. So I booked in for a reading, and it changed my motherfucking life. Oh my God. So we will have the beautiful Emmy Ray joining us for season 3. So I can't wait to interview her and introduce you guys to her and her work. She is absolutely the divine feminine embodied. But what she offered me in this business reading was absolutely life-changing, because it was so practical and so context specific to my work, whereas astrology has been a bit more broad or general life, kind of topics. These were very practical, tangible things about how I should run my business in line with who I am. And this girl fucking sees me. And like her opening line was like, wow, you have a very special chart. She's like, I shouldn't have favorites and I don't have favorites, but your chart is really special. And she was able to see way beyond what someone would look at the surface level of my chart. And she said, yes, you're a generator, but essentially you're a reflector, how your mind works, how you communicate, your personality. Since looking at reflectors, I relate so much. Reflectors take up 1% of the population. They're very rare. There are so many aspects of my chart that is very rare. And she said, you must have felt like an alien your whole life. And I was like, yes, you're telling the life story of Erin. Oh my God, the things that this girl said. But most importantly, the way in which she empowered me to run my business is exactly what I've always wanted, just to be myself. And the way that I do it is drastically different from everyone. And because of that, you get a lot of judgment, you get a lot of criticism, you get a lot of projection. It's almost like, and she said, you have a very, very large aura. People have probably wanted to take you down a notch your whole life. And I was like, oh, yep, I can relate to that as well. People either respond to my large energy in a really positive and empowering way, or people get really fucking triggered by me. And that's not a pleasant experience for me to have. I want to be empowering everyone that comes into my world. I want everyone to think, wow, I felt so loved by Erin. I felt so understood by Erin. I want to create that experience in my relationships. And of course, we can't control that. We can't control what people think and feel of us. And sometimes when people feel that strength of my energy, that triggers the shit out of them. And often they want to pull me down a peg. So Emmy really gave me permission to say, the greatest success that you're going to have is from a very, very different place from everyone else. And basically we need to, how much can we decondition you from what the world has told you? Decondition from any kind of strategy, any kind of consistency, any kind of planning. She's like, you essentially just have to be relaxed and enjoying your life and finding the joy and the beauty in the mundane, and you will have a phenomenal amount of success and make a phenomenal amount of money. And I have cried so much as a result of this reading, to just be seen and understood and validated that reading made me feel valid in a way that I have felt invalidated my whole life, especially the emotional part of me. So she explained that I have this particular channel that is very much about initiating people into emotionality, spirituality, and sexuality. And that I have this capacity to feel that is far beyond what most people get the experience to feel. And I grew up in a very emotionally avoidant family. So these parts of me that are inherent in me and the gifts that I'm here on the planet to share were the parts of me that were the most often shut down and misunderstood and in many ways punished. You know, the true essence of who I am was never understood. And to know that these are the parts of me that are going to create the most amount of success, like, of course, it makes perfect fucking sense. It's in line with my life and worldview already. But here was the person that spoke to who I am to such incredible precision and empowered me to be that. Life is going to be completely different moving forward. Business is going to be completely different moving forward. It was just amazing. But one of the things, there are a couple of lessons that I got from this. One of the biggest ones was I have to be able to say no to things that are not a full fuck yes. And it's in my ability to say no to these opportunities that arise that allows me to truly say yes. And I have to be okay in the trust and the surrendering and the free fall of not knowing for maybe large periods of time, these plateau windows. And so I've really been implementing that in my life and business. I have said no so much in the week since my reading. It's phenomenal. Like, I would not have related to that question. And I went to this Tantra event up in Ubud recently. And it was when I got back from Australia after attending an amazing Tantra temple night in Melbourne. And I saw that there is a tantric teaching school here that hosts these events. So I thought, fantastic, I'm going to go along. And in my personal opinion, oh my God, it was shit. I couldn't believe the drastic difference between the facilitation of this event and the amazing event that I took part in Melbourne. Like, just on so many layers, I didn't resonate. The venue, the lighting, there was no air conditioning, no fans on. I was sweating. It just... oh my God, there were so many things that were wrong with this event, in my opinion. But one of the things he said, you know, we're here to empower you with your authentic yes and your authentic no. And as you're doing these partnered intimacy, you know, what would they be called? Like activities, I guess, with partners, particularly strangers in this group that you didn't know before you arrived, you need to be able to say yes and no and have healthy boundaries. And so he said, who here has said yes when you really mean no? And at that point, I couldn't relate. And particularly in the intimacy and sexuality space, I'm very, very empowered to say no and to negotiate my experiences. Like, I just didn't relate to what he said. But what he did was make us get up into the middle of the room and put our hands out in front of us and say, no, no. And we just had to like scream this for like 2 minutes. And I was like, he's like, you need to feel this no in your body. And I was like, okay, fair enough. But in this particular context, that's not helpful. We're not going to be getting partnered with someone in this room and then say, no. Like, there's a more context appropriate way to empower us to say no at this event than that. So, you know, I try and be open and just be there to what can I learn? What can I receive? What can I experience here that's going to help me be a better person, even if I don't relate to these teachings or find these teachings beneficial? But this week I realized that in a business context, I say yes a lot. So I get a lot of requests for interviews and for speaking engagements. And I tend to say yes to all of these things because from that strategy point of view, people would say, it's really smart to take advantage of these opportunities. That's exposure. It can put you in front of a new audience. But they haven't been yeses for me. And so this week in my team meeting, I was saying yes to these things. And I was like, whoa, wait, hold up. That's not a full body yes. What the hell am I doing? I'm going to say no to that. And so I went and said no to all of these interview opportunities. And, you know, I found that easy to do. And I also said, thank you for this opportunity. And can I refer you on to someone else that I think would be a good fit for this interview opportunity? But I'm not going to drain my energy doing those things anymore when it doesn't feel in alignment. I don't care how smart or business smart it looks. I now feel so empowered to say no. And what that's already done is made me feel so much more powerful to the things I'm saying yes to. Like, I'm so excited by the things that are coming up that are a yes in a way that I haven't felt in quite a while. So I'm really excited for what the future holds. But another really interesting thing that came from that human design reading is that she said you will often receive criticism, and particularly from a business context, because it will look so easy for me, that people will judge and criticize that. But she said there's also this aspect of your chart in which you will be misunderstood a lot. And that's almost like a test from the universe, which is also what my healer Angie had said in my reading. That week's reading was like, you're being tested by the universe right now. You're being tested by your higher self. Can you hold your knowing even in the face of challenge? And so when she said that, the first thing that came to mind for me in that reading was a conflict that I'm having with my family right now. And it's been very difficult to navigate that over the past month. I actually started seeing a counselor to try and get support in resolving this family conflict, because my skills, all the resolution skills that I have, and all of the emotional maturity and emotional intelligence and communication skills that I have, do not work with my family. What I can see in hindsight is that the success that I have in my relationships now, in the ability to resolve conflict, in the ability to navigate extremely difficult and intense and challenging things, is because I choose to relate with people who can meet me in that place, who share similar communication skills, who share very similar emotional maturity and intelligence. And that's not the case with my family. So I grew up in a very avoidant family who has very little contact with our wider family in general. So I was never raised with this close, tight-knit family feeling. And now as an adult, I would perceive my own family members really to be my mum and my brother. And my brother and I maybe speak once a year if we're lucky. So even that is very distant. But I can recognize how different I am from the majority. Almost everyone that I can see in my family, no one lives the way that I live. No one has changed the pattern of our family to the degree that I have. As far as I'm aware, no one has pursued their dream to the same degree that I have. And that's absolutely fine. You know, like, I don't project that onto anyone else or have those expectations of anyone else. But what I do recognize is that we're so different, and they're not able to relate in the same way that I relate. So that creates a conflict. So what has happened recently, and like, my biggest fear on the planet was being alone, of having no family. And I'm essentially in that place now. So I had a conflict with my mum about 18 months ago. It turned into the biggest fight that we've ever had when I was back in Australia. It got violent. It was awful. And yeah, that was just a really difficult experience. However, we moved beyond that. But this most recent time that I went back to Australia, it turned into a conflict again. And it was hard for me because I would perceive that my family know me better than anyone. And that's just not the truth. If you don't take the time to get to know me and invest in my life and call me and ask me how I am, or engage with me in a personalized or a personal way, you don't know who I am. And even if my family watch my social media, which I'm really uncomfortable with now, and I'm deciding that I'm going to remove them from my social media, because at the end of the day, my socials are my business. So what I share there is strategic. It's for my clients. It's not for my family to get life updates on what's happening with Erin without having to invest in me in return. It's a one-way flow of information. So there was a time earlier in this year where I wasn't on social media for 2 weeks, and my mum had texted me, sent me a Facebook Messenger thing and said, I haven't seen you on social media, are you okay? And I said, oh, actually, I'm navigating, like, that's when I was going through my breakup. And I said, I am really, really struggling. This has been a much harder transition than I ever expected, and I'm really struggling. And I just got no reply to that. And I saw that she had listened to my voice memos and nothing. And so I left it a while. And then I wrote back and said, hey, Mum, when I tell you that I'm really struggling and you don't respond at all, it doesn't make me feel seen or heard. And her response was, oh, sorry, it was a voice memo, so I felt like we'd talked on the phone. And I think that's really indicative of these one-way, this is social media, this one-way flow of information is like, you see what's happening in my life. You say, oh, Erin's looking good, she must be doing fine. But that's a business page at the end of the day. And I'm not going to share, as vulnerable as I am and as open as I am, I'm not going to share everything because it's not of service. Everything that I share is with the intention that it's of benefit to others. So if I'm sharing everything, but no one is contacting me or calling me, and there was a big period of time where I was like, Mum, I really want to hear from you more often. Can you please call me or text me? Go months without hearing from her, and it means a lot to me that you invest in this relationship as well. And then maybe 3 months will pass and we're in contact again, or I call her and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have anything to say. I'm like, well, you could just say I'm thinking of you, because nothing's happening, nothing in her perspective that she has to share is happening, then I don't hear from her. And she doesn't need to call me and invest in me. So that's been very difficult. But after I went to Australia and we had this very difficult conflict, it just feels so irrational. I don't know how to deal with it because it doesn't have the communication skills that I have when I relate to other people. And I am so sensitive. I can't. There's nothing more I can say than that. But since getting back to Bali, she sent me a big email about the past and justifying the things that have happened in the past. And I responded and said, I'm going to go and see a counselor to try and resolve this stuff from my past. In her perspective, she said, you're nearly 40 fucking years old. I can't believe you haven't healed this shit yet. And in my mind, I have healed, and I don't walk around as some wounded child holding on to the past, but I'm not avoidant, and I won't shut down, and I will feel my feelings. But I'm really proud of who I am, and I'm really proud of how I've healed. And nothing, I don't not heal any area of my life. I'm more dedicated and devoted to my own healing and my own growth than anyone I know. So I got this big email and I wrote back and said, look, I'm going to go to a counselor. I'm going to get some support around this. If her attack of me and accusations of me have that much power over me, then that does tell me there's some work for you to do, because it's getting in. These kind of accusations, which I know are not true, are getting in. So I have healing to do. End of story. I want to get to the point where she can call me whatever she wants to call me and say whatever nasty things she wants to say. And it doesn't get in. And I see it for what it is. It's a pure projection of her own pain and her own unwillingness to heal or face her stuff. And I spoke with a previous partner of mine recently who said, I used to shut you down emotionally all the time. And that's because I didn't want to feel my shit. And you're so brave and courageous that you feel everything you need to feel. And that makes me really uncomfortable. And I shut you down, and I'm so sorry. But that's what your family's been doing to you your whole life as well. They don't want to feel their shit. And so they shut you down. So I wrote to Mum and said, I don't want to talk about the past for the next 6 months while I get therapy. And she replied and said, before you pull away for 6 months, I just need to say this, and went into all this stuff about the past. My eyes started scanning over it and I saw both of my stepdad's name and I was like, no, we're not going there. I just expressed a boundary and said, I do not wish to talk about the past until I am more capable of doing so. And to blatantly disregard that and send me more justifications of the past, oh, no. So I wrote back and said, Mum, I can't read this email. I set a boundary not to talk about the past. I never said I'm pulling away. I said I don't wish to talk about that. If you wish to maintain a relationship, I'm happy to talk about anything else that's light and easy and isn't related to past trauma. We can talk about the animals, we can talk about friends, we can talk about business, we can talk about family, but I do not wish to talk about the past. And her response to that was, well, I don't think I want to speak to you anyway. I'd rather not. We haven't had a decent conversation in over a year anyway. I'm like, yeah, because you never fucking call me. How could we have a decent conversation when you never call me? And when we do speak, you say, I've got nothing to say. Like, relationships take two people. I cannot be held responsible for that, for the quality of our relationship. But, you know, not having my mum in my life has been my biggest fear for the last 20 years. I've been worried. I have been so preoccupied with the fear that she's going to commit suicide, that this fear of losing her is so deeply ingrained in my subconscious. It's this constant worry of, there have been so many windows in my life where I'd call her, and if she didn't answer, I thought that she had died. It's a very unnatural thing to have adapted to. It's a big stress and worry, unhealthily so, that I've been carrying for so long. And when she chose to pull away from me, I spent 2 days crying and incredibly sad. And then I reached a point where I felt free in a way that I hadn't before, of not having any expectations of her, of not wanting her to be my mum, of not wanting her to call me and feeling like she never did, or wanting her to understand me and feeling like she never did. I felt a lightness and a freedom I've never known. And yeah, I have some big thoughts about the future and what I want. And I've expressed to her that one of my biggest values is secure attachment, and that when I have a family of my own, it is extremely important to me that all the people who are primary caregivers of that child have secure attachment. And it's really important to me that she works on her healing of her extreme avoidance. And I'm clear on my values, and I'm clear on my principles and who I am and what I want for my life. And that's not to judge or project onto others or tell them what to do, but to say, this is an invitation that if you wish to hold a relationship with me, that these are the values in which I want relationships. And if that means that we cannot have a close mother-daughter relationship in the future, then that is what shall be, as unfortunate as that may be. But I then went on to have a conversation with my brother, who called me for my birthday, but sent me a message saying, I hear that you don't want to talk to mum for 6 months. Do you want to talk about that? And I said, is that what she said? Because I never said I didn't want to talk to her for 6 months. She, in fact, said she didn't want to talk to me. So my brother and I got on the phone, and my impression was that he was calling me to provide an objective listener. What I see now is that this is actually just extremely unhealthy triangulation. That when my mum didn't get what she wanted out of me, and she's written to me a couple of times since she decided to pull away, which actually feels very uncomfortable for me, because I got myself to the place where I was mentally and emotionally prepared to go 6 months without her presence and focus on myself. And then when her messages were coming in, I was like, oh, that does not feel good. That does not feel clean. That does not feel like, it's not an acknowledgement. Anyway. So this phone call with my brother happens, and it's a fucking nightmare. So I say, did you know that mum and I had a big fight the last time I saw her and it got violent? And he said, oh yeah, I think I'd heard you had a fight. And I said, yes, well, she started online dating, and she was chatting to someone, and she said to him, oh, my daughter's a healer living in Bali. Are you cringing yet? And he wrote back and said, yeah, I'm cringing. And when she told me this, I said, Mum, why would you say that about? Why? That hurts my feelings. That was the source of this 2-day long, incredibly abusive, screaming fight between us. And she feels justified in that, because she says, like, people of my generation don't understand, and I needed to test him and see blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, fine. Whatever your justification is, that's fine. But it hurts my feelings. And you could just hug me and say, I'm sorry. That's all I need. And for 2 fucking days, I couldn't get that. And I was like, I'm letting you know all I need is a fucking hug and for you to say I'm sorry. And that would not come. And it got to the point that this fight got violent, and it's baffling to me that someone is going to hold so firmly to their perspective that they think that they're justified and righteous in what they said, despite the fact that I'm saying, hey, that didn't feel good for me. That hurt my feelings. To not be able to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't consider that, but I understand that now. That wasn't my intention. I won't do that again. Or whatever it might be, whatever middle ground there is. But this was like the same fucking story I've had my whole fucking life. Your feelings don't matter. Your feelings are not valid. My opinion, my thought, my decisions are the way to go. And then I've had to pay the price of that, of carrying and feeling the sensitivity and the emotionality of my entire family unit because everyone's avoidant. So my brother calls me and I say, did you know that this is where it started, essentially? This same conflict has been carrying on since then. And I'd said, you know, she started online dating and she said this. And this guy, I said, yeah, I'm cringing. And my brother's response was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a second, Erin, you're fucking kidding yourself, right? Of course you fucking cringed at what you do. I don't know if it's the people that you hang out with, but the majority on the fucking planet, the majority of people on this fucking planet would cringe at what you do. And I was just like, what? What the fuck is this? I was like, I'm not here to get into the nuts and bolts of what I'm going through with mum. I'm not available for this kind of conversation today. I must have said that about 5 times. Like, I am not available for this today. I'm not interested. No. Listen. Erin, listen. Like, again, this complete, blatant disrespect of my boundaries. So I ended up hanging up. And then he wrote, come on, Erin, call me back. So I took a deep breath and I called him back and he said, let's try again. And I said, okay, good. Thinking, great. This is going to be a bit more objective and a bit more rational. Nope. It just, the way he laid into me and the things that he said to me is like, they're so out of the realm of anyone in my world or the way that anyone that I know would speak to each other or choose to navigate a misunderstanding. It's hard to believe. For me, it was hard to believe that this is even happening. Like, I must have said, no, I'm not available for this. I can't have this conversation today. I'm not doing well. I'm struggling at the moment. I don't have the space for this. And he's like, no. You should hear what she did to me. You should hear what she did to me. Listen. This is about me. And I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry. I do not have it in me right now. Like, I'm really struggling with the choices that my mum has made. To then be like, oh, wait till you hear what she did to me and pile up more difficulty. Like, I know he's got his own battles, but I'm trying to navigate this right now and I'm not in a good space and I do not have the capacity for this. And to just continually have someone barge over the top of me to try and tell me this stuff that I'm saying no to. So I hung up again. It just got to the point, like, none of my skills are going to work in this circumstance. I cannot relate on the level in which they relate, which just is a hard no. I'm sorry. Well, then we can't have this. You know, I invited him to come along to a counseling session with me. And in the end, he was just like, do you know what? This is I'm 40 years old and I've never had a conversation this difficult. Do you know what? You do need help, girlfriend. Good luck. Go get help. And to me, this is the final straw. I am so clear that I do not wish to have those kind of relationships with people who speak to me like that and see me like that. And in this human design reading, when she said, you will get a lot of criticism for who you are. And when that criticism comes in and you pass that test, you will break through to the next level. And often that criticism comes in just as you're about to break through. So since I had that conversation with my brother, I absolutely started doubting myself and questioning myself and thinking about what I'm sharing online and thinking, do people really think this of me? Like, is this what the majority of all of that fear and doubt got in? It fucking got in. Because I have doubted myself my whole life because I was raised in this family. And this kind of criticism and avoidance and projection was just the way that we were raised. So I had incredibly deep self-doubt, incredibly deep self-hatred and loathing. I felt like a worthless piece of shit. I felt, my brother said, we had the same childhood. I don't see what your problem is. Like, I'm fine. Well, actually, we didn't have the same childhood because my brother wasn't sexually abused and I was. I never remember my brother with visual bruises, and I did. I'm a female. Any female on this planet is going to have a different experience from a male child inherently. We live in a patriarchal planet. As a female, we come up against a lot more challenge inherent in our daily lives and a greater sense of unsafety in our lives. And most importantly, I'm incredibly different. My needs are very different. You can't have two children having the same life experience and have the same outcomes. It's not about the external experience. It's about how we as individuals respond to those experiences. And when I am as emotional as I am and as sensitive as I am, as per my design, as per my inherent nature, I'm going to react and respond to that childhood very differently from someone that's more logic based and doesn't have the same feeling capacity or sensitivities. So when I had that reading with Emmy, I thought, I've been fucking holding back. I've been holding back in subtle ways all the time, trying to be palatable to as many people as possible, trying to be nice, trying to make people feel good, trying not to trigger people in a negative way. And after that reading, I went to my roommate, Charlie, and I said, Charlie, it's fucking time for full power, Erin. I am not fucking holding back anymore. I am going to accept that people may cringe at what I do. I'm going to accept that people may misunderstand me. I'm going to accept that people judge and criticize me and will project their stuff and will feel better about themselves if they just pull me down a peg, and I'm not going to let it bother me anymore. It's not part of my experience. This is my life. I have the sovereignty to create the life experience that I wish, as does everyone on this planet. And if your life experience is to avoid and to shut down and to drink all day, go ahead. That's your prerogative. But that's not going to be my life experience. That's not what I want in my inner life experience. I'm going to choose to surround myself with people that do fucking understand me. I am going to share my message for the people that fucking need it. One of my dear friends who has done a lot of work with me over the years, when I shared with her what my brother said, she was so hurt that someone would say that to me, not only because she cares about me as a friend and her empathy for my experience, but because of what she has gained in this world and in this life because of who I am. And that if people and their judgments stop me from being me, then she doesn't get to receive what it is that I offer in her life. It hurts her to think that I might be shut down by these kind of attacks on my character and on my work. I do this. I share the truth of who I am for me, first and foremost, and for you, the people that choose to show up here and the people that want to hear what I have to say. And I don't give a fuck who cringes. I don't give a fuck now. Like, it just doesn't fucking matter. No holding back. That was a very long-winded story to get to this very important part of this episode, which is there is no more holding back, and I'm so fucking excited for what's to come. You know, I also had this amazing conversation with my ex-partner. Now, one of my beautiful clients sent me a message and said, I just listened to your breakup call and your breakup podcast, and she was crying, and she's like, I'm so proud of you, and I love you, and I'm so grateful that you're in my life, and I'm so grateful that you're my coach. And then when I shared with her that he and I are navigating moving forward in some sort of capacity, she was like, whoa, but I just heard how much pain you're in. I don't really understand. She's like, I don't think I could forgive like that. So part of it is that I do have this inherently very forgiving nature and understanding. But what's different here between this and my family scenario is that I'm saying these are my values. These are the ways in which I am willing to relate. And you can meet me there. If you can meet me there, then I want to see what goodness still exists between us that could be of benefit to both of us in our lives. We love each other in such a profound way. Like, I have had many, many deep loves in this lifetime. And my astrologer said that too. She's like, you have had 10 soulmate loves when some people never even get one. And I was like, yeah, that's so true. So I have known deep and intense love in this lifetime. And yet the love he and I share is the most profound of all. And that's not something that's easy to find, and it's rare, and I treasure it. So if there's a way that we can move forward where we can still elicit goodness from us, where we can still serve each other in our lives in a positive way, but in a way that doesn't cause the pain that we've been through, it's the fucking Olympic Games of relating. I've got it in me to do it. And he is showing me that he does too. He moves at a slower pace. I have to be patient as fuck because I want it all and I want it now. But I'm really fucking proud of him and what he's willing to face inside of himself and how he's willing to navigate it. And I'm really fucking grateful that he chooses to love me in the way that he does, and that he wants to serve me and he wants to support me in getting my needs met, and particularly my submissive needs. So we had a really interesting conversation about my submission. And he said to me, do you share this part of yourself with anyone? And I said, oh yeah, I talk about it with all of my friends and I talk about it with my clients, and here I am on the podcast talking about it. And he said, yes, but do you let this part of yourself engage with anyone other than me? And I felt like I got punched in the heart, like my heart cut open in that one moment. I was like, fuck, no, I don't. I don't actually show this part of myself. There's this sense of detachment, or I'm teaching it from this kind of assertive place. This isn't my submissive persona. And he said to me, it is a very, very real part of who you are. And it's important that you do embrace it and that you do share it with the world. So that's been, again, like these kind of events all just like snowballed into this massive awareness of like, I am going to own this part of myself proudly. I've started making contact back with the kink community here in Bali, which I still have many disagreements with the way that it's run. It still is not up to the standard in which I need, but I cannot sit back passively and just say, oh, I really hope that maybe one day I get a kinky partner. No, I need to take control of my life and say, this is who I am. This is a very real part of me, and I need to create structures in my life that allow it to be expressed and allow me to get my needs met. So I'm taking action towards those things. I have no idea what that's going to look like. I've made contact with a previous partner, the first person that was a dominant for me, and he said, when we get back to Bali, I'd be happy to get back into a dynamic. So that's an open loop. Who knows what that might bring? You know, my biggest vision is that future partnership in which I want, that I know that I'm capable of meeting my equal and experiencing divine union. I don't want to make any choices in the interim between now and when a new relationship shows up for me that could make me unavailable for what I really want. So this comes back to that lesson from human design. Where am I saying yes when I really should say no? Is that ruthlessly in alignment with who I am? Or am I just accepting what's present at the moment? So that is this little delicate tightrope that I'm walking right now, that I have no idea how it looks like, but fuck, I'm excited. I just feel like I am breaking through to the next fucking level. And I look back at my life and I have had amazing success in my business, like amazing fucking success. And people used to always say to me, how did you do it? And I was like, magic. It was all magic. It's never been strategy. It's never been following the common path. It's always been when I am in my own alignment, when I am in my joy and my bliss, when I'm doing exactly what I know that I'm here to do in my way, things fucking drop in my lap like nothing else. And so that is my commitment. And that has really, there have been some amazing women come into my world recently who I believe are the embodiment of the divine feminine on the planet. Now, divine feminine is thrown around everywhere. And I'm very discerning, as you guys know. I also have, as a generator in human design, your sacral energy center is your nucleus, essentially. I have only one gate going into the sacral, which means that's the only energy that fuels my nucleus, my center, and it is called the gate of power, and it's the most intuitive and psychic gate. So again, this validation of like, I've fucking always known. I've always known I can trust that inner voice, even if no one around me is having the same experience on the inside. I'm like, no, that person's not to be trusted. That person's so inauthentic. Like, I can just fucking see it. And this reading again has validated, like, I can always trust and listen to that inner voice. So when I see these women online, when I see the vast majority of people talking about the divine feminine, I do not see the full embodiment of the divine feminine. And that's okay, because we're all learning and we're all growing and we're all human as well. But when I see those women who fucking has it, who is very authentic to their fucking core, bow down, sister. I bow down to you and to that. And that's what this season of the podcast is all about. Of course, I will have my solo episodes because this girl can't stop talking. And it's all meant to be about me. That also came from the human design reading, that all of my circuitry is individual circuitry. So there's individual, tribal, and collective. Mine's all individual. Everything that I should be sharing and expressing and writing about should be about my own personal experience. I shouldn't try and modify that message to teach to the collective. I just need to talk about my experience, and that's going to have the most impact on people. And that's exactly what this podcast has always been. And I see that. I see when I'm telling my stories, which I fucking love telling stories, sharing my experience, that everyone gets their own unique takeaway. They integrate that into their consciousness in their own unique way at the level that they're at getting what they need to get, and it's different for every person. So I feel very empowered now to fucking full power Erin, no holding back, talk about my experience plenty. So I will be doing a lot of podcasts. I'm going to share with you how the divine feminine has showed up in my life. I'm going to share with you the most amazing fucking stories of being called to very sacred sites around the planet by these goddesses that have shown up for me and like transformed my life. And I can't fucking wait. But, oh, I'm getting the goosebumps. I'm also creating a journey for you to come and join me on to meet the goddess, for you guys to have your own personal experiences, to channel these beings, to help you guys connect with these goddesses that we know throughout time, to have your own personal experience of that and start to embody the divine feminine in your life as well. So that journey is going to be coming in the next month or so. So you'll hear about that here on the podcast, and you'll hear about it on my Instagram. So make sure you're following me over there. But I'm just so excited to introduce you to these women. I feel really proud to have them on my podcast. I feel like they are absolutely in line with the authenticity and the standards and the values that I hold for myself. And I can see they're doing it too. They are so embodied and so authentic and sharing their light and their gifts with the world in such an amazing way. So those women have had an amazing impact on me in the last month while I've been taking this rest. I have been in a more feminine space than I've been in so long, and I feel fucking amazing. And no doubt that is why I manifested the dream fucking villa today. Like, I know all of this comes for me when I'm in that space. So God bless these fucking women who lead me in my life and inspire me in that way. And I can't wait to share them with you too, and for you to receive that. So welcome back to season 3, my beloveds. I'm so fucking excited for what's to come. Things are going to be very different around here. I'm not holding back anymore. Full power Erin. I'm going to give you my honest opinions. I'm not going to play the nice girl anymore. I'm just going to be ruthlessly true to me. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'd love if you share it with anyone that you think would get value from it. I'd love to hear from you guys on Instagram. Well, until next time, beloveds, fuck loud, laugh louder.